Hello, I'm going to be looking at a particular object today, and the goal is to take that object and to pay attention to it and see how many interpretations that we can have of the object. So this object, I'll just show it to you right now, is a pear. Got it at the grocery store. It is in a bowl on my kitchen counter that has bananas and pears in it. And so if we pay attention to the pear, there's a lot of different questions we can ask, and I'll be launching a PowerPoint in a second to do that. But this could be any object. I'm just choosing a pear for the sake of discussing what is the pear, how can we look at it, and in particular, what are the models, what kind of models of the pear? Because the ways of looking at the pear essentially are all models. Modeling is the way in which we pay attention and represent the pear in this particular case. So I'm going to put that down. I'll start to go about this, modeling a pear. Now, when I say modeling a pear, I mean really what I'm talking about is paying attention to stuff, right? If you're in a museum, usually there's a lot of visual cues, sometimes audible cues, that create a focus of attention. And so they're very clever that way, right? Museums know that, and they've set up their exhibits in such a way that you will hopefully pay attention to something in particular. And but I want you to do that all the time, right? Whether you're in your house, your apartment, or your workplace, or that you're outside on a walk. So anyway, to make it simple, we'll just focus on the pear that happened to be located in my kitchen. So we want to pay close attention to the pear, and of course this means looking at it closely, maybe using a magnifying glass, but just noticing things. It's not a uniform color. There's all these interesting variations in color. There's some spots in here. There's something that almost looks like a rusting effect. Probably it's perhaps browning a little bit. Of course, there's a little tag on here that's got a barcode, and that barcode contains information. And so the way to think about modeling is all these different ways. What's the color? The color is a model of the pear. It's a simplified representation that leaves out a lot of stuff, everything but the color of the pear. Same thing with the barcode. The barcode is a model of the pear. It provides information that when you have the right scanner, you could understand the information about the pear in a particular way. Probably product information that's consumer based, or based on the people that farmed the pear, and you bought it in a grocery. The pear is composed of a stem. It's composed of the main fruit. So there's actually an information structure. And this kind of thinking is stuff that we do in computer science and information science all the time, right? We may not be looking at pears, but we're looking at other things, and we're deciding to look at those things through the lens of information structure and data structure. And so these are models when we represent those structures. So models are just defined as simplified representations. The pear is complicated. There's lots of detail, lots of things. A model is a kind of lens. It's a way of looking and interpreting the pear. And questions are a good place to start. Questioning is actually part of a lot of different disciplines, but in arts-based practices, the questions tend to be broad. They tend to be inquiry, along a whole variety of different things. This is also true in science. Different kinds of questions, different ways of framing questions. We may want to know, where does the pear come from? How can you make something that looks pear-like? This is actually something that if you had Legos, You might create a pear that looks like, that's made out of Lego bricks, right? That's a model. How are pears like this farmed? What does the supply chain look like from farmer to you, to grocery to you? That turns out to be a network that is a model of the supply chain for the fruit. We mentioned color before. What's the spectrum of the pear skin? And you might consider, for instance, in red, green, and blue, which are primary colors, what is the spectrum? What's the histogram of that? What does it look like? This kind of thing is very useful in computer graphics in every field where computer graphics is used. It's also of interest in the arts, in the visual arts. What's the history of cultivating pears? You remember that barcode? Well, what information is on there? How does browning occur? Once I bite into the pear itself then reacts with oxygen in the air, and there's an oxidation, and that changes the color. Usually it creates a kind of brownish color to the fruit that's on the inside. So all of the answers to the questions that we ask about the pear as an object of interest are models of the pear, right? So the way the kind of question you're asked, you're going to get a different model of the pear. The models tend to span all the subjects we study at school. That includes K to 12 and at university. What I'm saying here is that you could take the pear into different buildings and say, okay, here's a pear. How do you look at this pear from the standpoint of your discipline, your subject area? And they're all going to be different, right? So all these different models kind of exist, but they often exist in silos, in separate subjects and separate disciplines. So your turn is to sort of look around your apartment or your house, pick an item. It can be pretty much anything. Pay close attention, ask questions, and then pause it, think about, based on those questions, do these questions point to different subject areas that in our case might be related to the pear, in your case with your object might be related to that object. And so with that, we'll close. And again, this is kind of just open-ended, but think about things when you're looking at them. Obviously, we can't spend all day spending hours looking at each object, but pick one or two every day and sort of start asking a lot of questions. I think that's a great gateway into modeling.